Hey everyone, Ryan from Arcade High back again with part 2 of song structures, where we're going to dive a little bit deeper and take a closer look at a specific song. Now in this video, rather than going over sort of like the macro structure of songs, I want to go over kind of the micro structure of songs. I feel like this is probably the most common question that we get in terms of how to structure songs. It's kind of knowing what to bring out, what to, things to bring in and out throughout the song, as it's going along. And so this is Select Start off of our 2019 album, New Impressions. And I did break it down here with the markers into its sort of macro structure. This is basically the pop structure. It has a couple things that are a little bit different than your standard pop structure, where we go intro and then immediately into kind of like teasing the chorus, which is pretty much just the chorus with a couple of differences. Right into a verse, back into chorus, verse 2, into a bridge, chorus 2, then we have like a post-chorus and outro at the very end. Now I color-coded these specifically sort of to indicate kind of their energy. So the kind of cooler, darker colors, like here and kind of on the verses, those are going to be like lower in energy. And then as they kind of saturate and get kind of brighter with the chorus Tease and the two choruses here, and that kind of pinkish purple, that's when the energy really kicks up. So there's really kind of, there's 4 main things that I want you to listen to as we're going through this song. I'll leave a link below to the actual full song if you want to listen to it from start to finish. We'll be doing this in chunks. But there's 4 main sort of things I want you to listen for in each of these sections. This has a lot going on, which is why I chose this song. And so it's very easy to kind of get lost in all the sounds, that are just happening with this wall of sound we created. But really it's broken down into 4 main sections, and I color-coded them. So we have drums here in blue. We have the lead lines, like the main lead line in red. We have our chords in orange. And then our arpeggiators and sort of like little effects and bleep bloops and video game sounds in yellow, and then the bass in green. And so as we go through each of these sections here, listen for like those 4 sort of groups of instruments, and we'll kind of break this down as we go along. So the song begins, and this song does something interesting. I'm going to hit G on my keyboard to pull up the global settings. So this song begins at a much higher tempo, and so we have this lead synth here, which is just using so this lead synth is placing MIDI on this aux track, which includes these 4 leads. So anything we put on this is actually going to play all of these at once. And we also have this bandpass filter and a bit crusher on it to give it this crazy sound, and then we automated it to go down here in the automation for like the frequency and whatnot, and for the bit crusher to do some weird stuff there with it as well, which is why it sounds like the way it sounds. But the tempo is also going down as well. It just creates an interesting kind of opening, and you'll hear it as we play here. So to kind of break this down, so in the intro, and I mentioned this in the previous video, with the pop structure especially, or really any of the structures, you can tease your kind of main hook, or like the heart of your song, in the beginning, and that's what we're doing here. Now the lead is comprised of 2 separate leads that are layered together. This one is just, actually it's one of the GarageBand synths, Analog Basic. It's built into Logic, and then the other one is chip sounds with a patch we created ourselves. So individually they sound like this. And they also have this, the bandpass filter and the bit crusher going on, which is helping to give it that sort of teasing sound for the intro specifically. Like you can see the bandwidth going up as it goes along, and then the mix of the bit crusher going up, which is also creating that weird sound as you're listening to it. Oop. This might happen throughout, where it has to reset the bending. Okay, let me grab a part that's not filtered so you can hear what this sounds like. So that's one of the layers, and then the other is from chip sounds. And then together they sound like this. Oop. So this hairier lead, the analog basics, just giving it a little bit of kind of width, a little bit of breadth. And so we're teasing that hook right here in the beginning, and then we drop into the chorus, which is, like I said, basically the same as these choruses with a couple things a little bit different. I guess that's kind of the first thing we can talk. Well, actually, let's go to the bass here real quick. If you listen to the bass while we're going through the intro, you can see there's two basses here. We have this new disco bass, which is OBXD plugin. Also has the bit crusher. And you can hear it's creating that really cool kind of crushed effect as the bit crusher gets higher. And then this other one is a more sustained bass going beneath it. And it goes out of volume here as the other new disco plucky bass starts coming in. And then there's that without the filter as it kicks in. So we'll just play this one more time here so you can listen to all those parts. There's no drums playing here. And so for this chorus tease, the reason why it's sort of a tease and not like a full chorus is because the full chorus, if you listen and look at the notes, I'll just play this real quick, but it continuously plays that lead line. So it sounds like this for the main actual chorus of the song. Kind of sort of repeats with some variances there, but that's the kind of main thing. You can see that that lead line is really playing throughout that entire section, whereas here in the teased section, it only partially plays and then lets the chords fill this gap right here. Another thing to mention as we look at the chords, oftentimes our chords are really just one patch or possibly two patches that are layered together. But in this song, it's just one patch. So all the chords throughout, except for the bridge where it does something a little different. But I'll play these just alone so you can hear these. This is Massive, Massive the plugin. And then it also has these what are called beauty bells here using Tal Noisemaker, which is actually a free plugin, really good. But these are playing some kind of nice high notes that add a little bit of something to the song. And specifically here, they kind of play along with the chords, where the lead is not playing here, but the chords and the bell are. So you'll see, I'll just select all these. So here's the beauty bell up here, the chords down here, and then the lead is here, which is not gonna play for me there. There we go. So you'll see the first part gives us that teaser of the actual chorus, and the second gives us these kind of beauty bells with these chords. And that's what makes it sort of more of like a tease than a full chorus there. So it's a little bit less energy because there's a little bit less things going on. Now, if we move to the end here, we drop into the first verse where it's mostly just chords playing with some extra, the arpeggiators and effects and whatnot are in yellow. So we have these just different, like, these weird effects here playing from different plugins. And we'll just play this. And so what kind of makes it sound a bit more like a verse is because, we have no lead, we have no like super high sounds. We removed the hi-hat here, as you can see this chunk missing here, and it's just pretty much the kick and the snare with some toms thrown in there, whereas beforehand we had that hi-hat. And so we move through to the end here. And actually, I guess I'll mention that the chords do change rhythm. So I'll pull up these chords here so you can see. So this first part, when the verse first drops in, the chords are a little more sparse, and if I select some of these little bits and bloops, you can see those little effects, the video game effects, are mostly happening in between the chords. So that's very intentional because we don't necessarily want them going over top of the chords all the time. It becomes kind of busy. So this makes it very sort of intentional in the way that, like, we're hearing chords, then we're hearing some effects, hearing chords, hearing some effects. And I'll just play this first part of the section so you can hear that. So it's almost like a call and response. And then once the bleep bloop stuff up here, the effects, stop playing, the second half of this first chorus, the chords now get a bit more rhythmic. Now there's more chords playing, so we don't busy it up with any of the effects, but it adds its own energy by just playing sort of like a different pattern of chords. And then into the main first real chorus of the song. So now, another thing that makes this different rather than this teased chorus is this first full chorus, yes, has more of the lead, but it's also adding this new arpeggiator here. So this is what this sounds like. This is, what is this? This is massive. And that just really just repeats throughout the chorus. But that continuous 16th note arpeggiator really gives it this extra oomph of energy. And then we also have these bells here, but significantly less than before. Whereas before there was quite a bit of the beauty bells because it was filling in where the lead was not playing. So because there was less lead, you know, the bells could play some more. Here though, we have a lot more going on. We have the arp going on, we have the lead going on, and so we didn't do too many bells. It's really just emphasizing the chord hits. And so we'll play this. And as you can see too, this is split up into two sections in terms of the chords. Chords play a part A here, and then a part B here. But I'll play the whole thing. You can listen for that arp that's creating that kind of fast rhythm, and then listen for the continuous lead. And we also brought back in the hi-hat for the chorus as well, also adding some extra energy. So then moving into verse 2, this is a little bit different than verse 1. So these chords are playing this here. And it is accompanied by this arp here, which previously just did little blips throughout, but this is also the analog basic. This is one of the built-in GarageBand / Logic, but this on its own sounds as such. And here's with the chords. And so that's pretty much the only two things for the most part playing. We have this little guitar pit. I think it's just playing little like chukka sounds, which is just from a sampler. Yeah. Just adding a little extra rhythm. So let's add in the... Oh, and we also have these beauty bells playing here too, which are just playing sort of in tangent with this arp. So if you kind of see them together, and they're sort of doing it, once again, kind of a call and response. So the beauty arp plays, then the bells play. And so let's listen to that together here. Here's with the chords. Ooh. And then the drums are still playing the hi-hat here. So that's another difference from verse 1, whereas the hi-hat's not playing there. So it does kick up a little bit more in energy for verse 2, gives it the hi-hat, and just sort of feels a little more upbeat than verse 1 does. But if you notice, you know, it's playing stuff and then it's taking a breath at the end of each of these bars here. you know, so it plays a bit, takes a breath, plays a bit, takes a breath. And that's kind of key, is like you want to have those breaths throughout, especially in sections that aren't necessarily your chorus, even though, yes, you want them in your chorus as well, but you have a little bit more wiggle room in your chorus where you can kind of really fill it out. And, you know, it stops taking those breaths in the second half of that verse and that gives it just a little bit more energy as we're ending that verse, and then we move into the bridge. You know, like these are all little intentional things that kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say we intentionally like create them from the ground up that way, but as we're writing and as we're doing things, we'll kind of realize, okay, you know, maybe we wrote this whole section with a bunch of chords, and it's like, okay, actually this needs a little bit of breath here, and delete some chords and give it this kind of pause. You know, and because we always want to be in control of the energy, you know, with every single sort of like group of our stuff, our drums, our lead, our chords, our bass, and our arps. Like we really want to make sure that we're in control of how energetic it is at any given time. And is it allowing the section of the song to be the appropriate energy level? So we're in verse 2. We don't want it to have as much energy as the chorus. And so if we find ourselves, we're like, okay, hold on, this is getting too busy. There's too many things. It's too high energy. Let's remove something. Let's remove the hi-hat. Let's remove the bass or whatever it might be in that section. So we then move into the bridge. And for this, we don't even go right into the chorus. We go from verse 2 into the bridge. And we do some different chords here. Is it the same patch? Yeah, it might be the same patch, just slightly tweaked. But they're longer, sort of sustained chords. And this drops the energy way low. And it's actually, so one of the macros in Massive is affecting one of the parameters, so it's allowed to kind of filter up as these chords go. So you'll see that we automated this macro, and you'll kind of hear what it's doing as it moves along this green line. So it's kind of messing with the filter in Massive. And then we have several arpeggiators going on. This is Alchemy. This is one of the arpeggiators. And these are all automated as well with a volume. So they kind of drop out and then start building back up. And that helps to just sort of like build the energy and then tease it, drop down, build the energy, tease it. And then here's another one. This is the Analog Basic again. It's the GarageBand built-in Logic one. And then we have magical 8-bit and chip sounds, creating some video game ones. Here's the first one. And the second one added, so this is all together. So some are going up, some are going down, and they're all kind of working together in tangent. And then here's everything together with the chords. And also the bass too. The bass is going back to that low sustained bass that it did in the beginning. And this is what it sounds like. And you can also hear too that the chords will play, and then as the chords are ringing out, the arps will come in. So like if we pull up these chords real quick. So like the chord will play, and then as the chord is ringing out, as it's ringing out sort of in this section here, that arp will start to come up to kind of leave, you know, because the chords leave room for it. So it's almost like a call and response once again. So listen for that here one more time. And so to build that energy, the second half of the bridge, you know, it moves from that sustained bass into the more thumping 16th note bass, and it also brings in some drums. So we go from no drums, which is some toms and that sustained bass, so we're not getting a lot of that energy. All the energy is just coming from these fast, kind of dreamy arps. Then the second half of the bridge, we kick into that new disco, kind of quicker bass, bring the drums back in, keep the arps and the chords the same, and it just kind of builds. And then we have this long riser, these two risers here, which give it that just sort of like really nice build up into that drum fill and then back into the chorus. And this chorus here, I believe, is pretty much exactly the same as the first chorus. Once the second chorus is done here, we move into this post-chorus where all the same instruments are playing, but they play something a little bit different with a little bit less rhythmic, so not as many notes going off. And so you'll hear it here. So a little bit more elongated notes, not as many notes for the lead. The chords are a little bit more sparse, and you can hear that call and response again. So this lead is kind of playing along with these sort of beauty bells here. And here, let's play this here so I can see. Yeah, so that call and response here. So this, you know, it plays the lead with the beauty bells, and then in between does these little bits. You know, but we made sure to leave room. Like you can see, there's nothing here, so it leaves room for these little guys. And also here as well, and here as well. So that's also intentional, you know, it's like, you can have a couple, like if you have your chords, you can have one or two things kind of playing with it if it's bolstering those chords, if it's kind of playing along, playing nicely with those chords, you know, either kind of adding like a harmony top note or possibly something similar to that, or just playing one of the notes in the actual chord itself. And then once this section's done, I think it just kind of continues on here. And then for the beginning of the outro here, we have just the chords. So it's just the chords playing with this beauty bell here. And I'll pull these up so you can see them. And this is pretty much it for kind of beginning of the outro. So we want to bring down that energy significantly. We don't have that main lead that kind of, you know, acts as our main energy driver throughout. We still have our hi-hats. We want to kind of keep the drum rhythmic energy up, but in terms of the actual instruments, we want to kind of tone it down and give it some space to breathe. And then into the outro there, we do like a little chord modulation type thing. And then we also have like, you know, it's always good to pay attention to little elements. So like we have this guy here, just Beauty Bell and reverb. So I think we just took this note right here and bounced it to audio. And I don't know if we reversed it or, oh yeah, it looks like we reversed it. So like I'll just play this alone. It's just an audio bit. And that just adds a little something into the very end. So you'll hear it play. You know, as opposed to without it, if we have. You know, it still sounds good, but it just adds that little something to kind of, you know, whoomp into that last note. And we just end on this one low bass note, which we love to do, which is on the root, and then just this little arp just kind of repeating, and it just kind of fades out. And so that's pretty much kind of it. I hope this was sort of somewhat helpful to see all these pieces here. It's very easy to kind of get lost in hearing this wall of sound that songs can create. And yeah, it does take time, but it is very kind of methodical in the way it's done. And so if you kind of listen to songs and try to think of them as like, okay, you got your drums, your bass as your foundation. And then you have probably some main rhythm chords that are running throughout. Then you'll have your main lead line, most likely, somewhere in there. And then probably some arps here and there, and maybe some little special effects, little sweetening elements, as we like to call them, that'll play here and there. And if you kind of listen to songs and kind of group them in your brain like that, and if you just focus on one thing and say like, okay, like, is there an arp playing here? Okay, why is the arp playing here? How fast is that arp? What kind of arp is it? Is this the verse? Is this the chorus? Okay. You know, if you reverse engineer all the songs that you like, you'll be able to break down what you like. I think that's the really important thing, is you need to figure out what you like. And, you know, you have a ton of songs that you like, but you have to figure out why you like those. You know, not everyone's going to like the same songs as you. So it's figuring out, like, what about this song do you like? And so when it comes to structure, that's a really good way of kind of thinking about it. So, like I said, I'll leave a link down below if you want to listen to this song all the way through. If you're enjoying the videos, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite songs are that have an interesting structure, or maybe a different structure, or perhaps just your favorite structures to use when you're writing. But I guess until next time, stay rad, and we'll see you then.